Alright, I'm gonna start a video, okay? Don't make noise. Hey loves, it's Angelica, and today we're going to be talking about all the books that I have read since January 1st. So if you don't know, I had a baby who decided to wake up as I was starting to film this. She is currently in my lap, so hopefully she'll stay quiet for this video, but we'll see. But I wanted to talk about the books that I have read so far at the beginning of the year, because I took a break because I had her in January, so I then didn't really get to film anything. But I have been reading, and I wanted to tell you about those books. So I was debating on if I wanted to split this into 2 videos, because I did read a ton of manga, and then I read like 4 books, but I think I'm gonna keep them all together. And if you want to just hear about the books or just hear the manga, I'll put timestamps in the description and on the screen for you. So I'm gonna talk about the books first. So I read a total of 4 books, but I did DNF 1 book, and I was really sad about it. And so I'm gonna talk about that book first, and that is Boy, Snow, Bird by Helen Oyeyemi. I think that's how you say it. I really wanted to read this book. I picked it up. The description sounded so great. It was like a Snow White retelling, and I was like all for it, but I tried to read it a while ago, like a year or 2 ago when I picked it up, and I couldn't get into it, so I put it down, and then I tried again, and I still couldn't get into it. So I got like maybe a third of the way through, and I was just like, it's not for me. The story felt like it was dragging. I didn't know necessarily where we were going. I just wanted to get to the meat of the story, if that makes sense, and I was kind of bored, and I found my mind wandering, so I just decided to put it down, and so I didn't finish it. Next, I read The House of Seven Gables by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This is a classic, and I saw this like 80s cover, and so I decided to pick it up. I gave this book like 2 stars. I didn't really enjoy it. There were moments that I really liked, other moments I didn't. It's a classic. He uses a lot of words. So many words. Like there were pages upon pages of descriptions about like, I think it was like a chicken or something. So unnecessary. And then other chapters that were like so good. So she agrees. So I just didn't enjoy this book as a whole. Like my average for the entire book is probably like a 2-star. And so I was really sad because I want to read more Nathaniel Hawthorne. I did read Scarlet Letter, and I really enjoyed that book, so I was sad that I didn't enjoy this one. Next, I read Pygmalion and My Fair Lady. This is a screenplay. I went to go see My Fair Lady, the musical, and it was so good, and they had this book here, so I decided to read the screenplay. And Pygmalion is the play version that My Fair Lady is based off of. It was interesting to read the play version and then read My Fair Lady and kind of see the differences and what was changed, and it's really good. So I really enjoyed this. Definitely check out My Fair Lady if you haven't watched the musical. There is a movie too, I think, so check it out. Next was a reread for me, and I actually started this last year and then finished this up, and this is A Torch Against the Night. I really needed to reread the first 2 books in this series. I couldn't remember everything that happened, so that's why I had to pick up the first 2 again, and I'm glad I did because there were definitely details I forgot, and I really love this series. I love the way Sabaa Tahir writes, and just the way she tells the story. I love that the chapters are from different perspectives of the people in the story, and it's just such an epic tale. I love it so much. I'm excited to see where it goes. I have some predictions, but I'm not sure, so we'll see if it's true. And the last book that I read is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This was my first book by her. I know a lot of people read Spinning Silver, and then there's another one that came out, I can't remember, but I really enjoyed this book a lot. I found that there were moments that I was bored, and then moments that were like super intense. Like the action definitely goes in waves. Like there are moments that are super intense, and then other moments that are like, I was so bored. There's so much more to this story that I don't necessarily know how to explain it. Basically it's set in a magic school, very dangerous magic school. You basically have to make like alliances with the other students, and basically to survive outside the school you have to make sure that you're joining like I can't remember the word, but like basically like a group of people that you decide to like live together and protect each other. And so our main character, she doesn't have that. Like her mom and her grew up like kind of on the outskirts and kind of just survived, like tried to survive on their own. And so our main character is basically navigating that. She's pretty like strong-willed. No, not a lot of people really like her. and she's just trying to keep her head down and get through school. And then a series of events happen, and then she's like thrust into this like crazy adventure, and it was really good. I definitely liked it. There were just moments that I didn't enjoy, and I think it was more because it could be pretty wordy, and I definitely struggle with authors that use a lot of words instead of just like, you know, kind of getting to the point, if that makes sense. So yeah, she agrees with me. And so I think I gave this book like 4 stars, 4.5 stars. It was a good book, and I'm definitely gonna read the second one. Okay, so I officially passed off the baby to my husband because he's finally home, and now I can talk about the manga. So starting off with the first manga that I read in 2022, that is volumes 1 and 2 of Wotokai. I wanted to kind of branch out a little bit in my manga reading. I don't know if you've watched any of my other manga videos, but I am really enjoying reading manga. I know it's gotten really popular lately, and I definitely have jumped on the train with everybody else, and I wanted to branch out and read something different, and so I did, and I read these 2 volumes, and then I bought volume 4 thinking that I had volume 3, which I didn't, so now I need to buy volume 3 so I can continue with the series, and I believe there's only 6 or 7, maybe there's 8 volumes. I should probably check that before I say anything, but I am really enjoying this series. It's so good. This is like, it's so much fun. Basically, everyone, they're all co-workers. 2 of our main characters, actually these 2, knew each other before, like when they were kids, and then they end up all working at the same place, and they're all otakus, which is basically, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments, but from my understanding, it's basically like a fangirl or fanboy. Like they love manga, they love all these like fandoms basically. Actually the 2 girls, they like to cosplay, and they were getting the guys involved, and it's just really fun and just like a fun time to read. Like I'm always smiling when I'm reading this series. They're just so good, and I'm glad I'm starting to branch out and just not only read like intense action like fantasy kind of stuff, but like just read more like, would this be considered slice of life? It's really fun, and I'm really enjoying it, so definitely going to pick up volume 3 so that I can then read volume 3 and then read volume 4. So next I read pretty much all of Spy Family. I had already read volume 1, but I had picked up the rest of the volumes. It actually took me forever to find volume 4. I'll show you the covers. They are really great. I love this series so much. It's so funny and so good. Like, just literally like, this is like my favorite. I absolutely love it. I'm finding that if I think about like my preferences with like TV shows and movies, I love stuff that is like fun and funny but has action, has like a whole bunch of things, but like definitely has that comedic relief, and this series does. So if you don't know, it's basically following our main character. This is Midnight. He is a spy, and he is tasked with getting close to this guy, and to do that they want him to basically get a family so they can he could put a kid in the school and then have like a reason to kind of get close to this guy because that guy has a kid in the school. So he gets a wife and a daughter, and he doesn't know, and this is told to you at the very beginning, but he doesn't know that the wife that he chooses to, like the woman he chooses to be his wife, who agrees, is an assassin. So she has like this secret life, and then they don't know that each other, like one's a spy and one's an assassin. And then he also gets a girl from an orphanage to be his daughter, and she's a telepath. So she knows all that they're both spies and assassins, but they don't know that she's a telepath. So it's like a lot of crazy things that happen because like she knows everything that's going on, but she's trying to act like she doesn't, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really funny, and I really love the series. It does have an anime now, so I watched the first episode. It's so good. I really enjoy it. It's really highly recommend. If you haven't read it, please read it. It's so good. If you notice a little slight change in like where my chair is, I just dropped a whole bunch of my manga off the top shelf of my bookshelf and had to fix it. So next I read Fruits Baskets, and I've heard so many things about Fruits Baskets, so I wanted to give it a try. I didn't even really know anything about it when I picked it up, but I really enjoyed it. I think I gave this like 4 stars. I liked the first, or maybe 3 stars. I liked it and I enjoyed it, but It didn't grip me like some of the other series that I've read, but maybe that's just because this is like just the first volume and I gotta just continue. And I definitely will continue with the series because it was interesting and different, and I know it's so beloved, so I really definitely want to like get to know the entire series so I can understand why it's loved so much. Also in that same, like, I picked up Wotakai and Fruit Baskets, and the last book that I picked up all together was After the Rain. I was specifically going for something different in that haul that I did, and I picked up this one. I didn't hear anything about it, but I wanted to give it a try. It's basically following this, she's a high school student and she is working in this like diner. I think it's a diner. She starts to fall in love with her boss. However, what I didn't realize was that it's a love gap, like age gap. Like he's like in his 40s and so I don't know, it made me a little uncomfortable, like, because she's a minor and he's in his 40s and she's like hardcore pursuing him. Though the one thing I did like was there was a little bit of pushback. Like he wasn't like, oh, I'm all in. He was like uncomfortable with the whole situation. I have heard that it's not exactly what you think it's gonna be, like this age gap romance. It's not gonna be like exactly like you expect. That's what I heard someone else give a review for. So I might continue, I might not, I'm not sure. I personally don't know if I like age gaps, especially when it's dealing with a minor and he's in his 40s and she's, I think she's like 16 or 17, but she's a minor. So I don't know how I feel about that. Let me know if you've read this series, if I should continue or if it's just gonna be what I'm expecting it to be. Okay, so next I finished all of Tokyo Ghoul. I read it on, I don't, obviously as you can see I do not own all of them. I only own 4 through 7. This is one of the first series I started reading when I started manga, like trying it out, and I really wanted to finish the series. I got this Shonen Jump app. It's like $1 or $2 a month. I feel like it was worth it. That's how I read all of Spy Family. Like I'm up to date with Spy Family, even though we don't have like volume 8 here, but I'm pretty much up to date with Spy Family because of Shonen Jump. So I decided to also read Tokyo Ghoul and finish it, and I did. I really liked the beginning of Tokyo Ghoul. If I'm being totally honest, by the time I got to the last volume, which is volume 13 I believe, I wasn't as like in love with the series as I was when I started it. And I don't know if that's just because in the meantime of reading it, I started reading other things and finding that I like other stuff. But I don't know, there were also, like, if you don't know, it's like basically there's ghouls in this world and, you know, they eat like humans and the flesh of humans and stuff, and our main character gets in an accident and then he is like half human, half ghoul. And like, so you kind of go through as he's like trying to figure out who he is. He's like fighting for right and wrong and all those things, and like there's a lot in the story that I really did like, but there were moments that I was just like bored. There was a couple volumes that were like designated to the investigators who are like trying to find the ghouls and like investigate them and like basically shut them down. I can't remember the actual title for them. And I just didn't find them as interesting as I found the ghouls, so I was just like not as into it. I gave those volumes like a lower rating than I did like the ones that were more about the ghouls and like figuring out the world. So I don't know, I think overall like the series as a whole will probably get like a 4-star or like 3.75, because like overall I did enjoy it. I'll probably still read Tokyo Re, but I was really disappointed that I wasn't enjoying it as much as I was at the beginning as I was at the end, if that makes sense. Okay, so next I read volumes 2 of Orange, and I read Orange Future, which is like stories that take place after Orange. And so basically, if you don't know, this is a story following this girl. She gets this letter from herself in the future saying that she has to help save her friend. And it is such a good series. I only own 1, as you see, because that's what I'm holding up. I still need to find volume 2 and the other one, but I haven't been able to find them. I really enjoyed it. I definitely had moments where I wanted to cry. It was so good. Like I was smiling, happy, but I was also so sad. Oh, it was a really good series though. I'm really glad I picked it up. I know a lot of people talk about this series and now I get why. It's just so good. Like, oh, it's so good, guys. I loved it so much. So next I read Princess Jellyfish. I don't own it. I got it from the library, and I read volumes 1 through 4, and I really liked that series so far. It's basically following these girls. I can't remember what they call themselves, but all women. They don't talk to men. They like just love to do their own thing, their own interests, like special interests that they have. They live in this house, and then one of the girls, our main character, I guess you could say, she one day meets this girl, or who she thinks is a girl, but it's actually a guy. He's just dressed up as a girl because that's what he likes to do. And so she talks to him because she thinks that he's a woman, and so she doesn't get uncomfortable. And so they end up like becoming friends, and then she realizes that he's actually the son of this politician, and there's so many things with that. And then there's like fashion thrown in, and it was really good. There were moments I just died laughing because it was so funny, and other moments but there's still like heartfelt moments in it, and you just see like as all of these characters start to like come out of their shell a little bit more and like embrace things that maybe are a little different, and I loved it. It was really good. So I definitely want to continue. I stopped only because I then had a baby. So I stopped reading. Actually, a majority of these manga, guys, I read in the first chunk of January because I didn't have my daughter until January 21st. That's when I had her. So I just read a lot. I paced my house because I was trying to walk to get so I could go into labor, and I just read a ton of manga. So I read most of these manga I read in the beginning of January, and so I ended up having to stop with Princess Jellyfish because of that. So I definitely want to pick up the rest of the series. I do want to own it eventually, but buying manga is very expensive because you read them so quickly, and they're always like $10 per manga. So it's like nice when you can find them used or like find them for cheaper, and so I try to do that. But my library that I have here is pretty good, so I've been reading a lot of manga from my library, so I'll have to pick up the rest of Princess Jellyfish. So next I read The Promised Neverland, just volume 1 because that's what I had, and oh guys, so good. I like was very surprised how quickly it got dark. Like it was just like you were like, oh, happy-go-lucky, and then all of a sudden it was just dark. It was insane. It was so good. I was so surprised. Like I had a vague idea of like the premise, but I didn't fully know. And so I was very surprised like when it came up. I was just like, where are we going? Oh, something's happening, but then it was like all of a sudden dark, and you'll see there's a contrast to he was just really happy and then it was not anymore, and I was like, oh geez. But it was really good, and I really enjoyed this first volume, so definitely going to continue with this story. I definitely would like to own this series, but there are so many volumes in the series, so definitely going to be reading it on my app. But I do like owning them physically. There's something about holding them and reading them. Okay, and last I read the first omnibus, so the first 3 volumes of Inuyasha. Oh, this is so good. My friend recommended it to me. She said that I should give it a try, and oh my gosh, it is so good. I really love it. I'm actually currently reading the second omnibus of this series, and so that's volumes, what, 4 through 6, and they're just so good. I absolutely love Inuyasha so much, and I love our characters. Kiyomi, I think is how you say her name. I really just love how, like, you know, fiery her personality is. It's so good. And then she's with Inuyasha, and who has such a fiery personality himself, and it's just really good. I'm really enjoying this series so much. Probably love it just as much as I love Sailor Moon, and guys, I love Sailor Moon. So I think I've realized that I like stories that have action and adventure, a little bit of love thrown in, but I also need the funny aspect. I need like moments that are like funny or that like break the tension a little bit, and I'm finding that that's where like my sweet spot is. So if you know any other series that I haven't picked up yet that you think that I would like, please put them down in the comments below. So loves, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's not too long. It's good to be back. I hope you guys are doing well and that this year is going well. We're in May. We're like the middle of May when I'm filming this. I hope you are having a good 2022, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.